Welcome back to the first ever World Chess Championship held in 1886 between two legendary players, Wilhelm Steinitz and Johannes Zukertort. In the last round, Game 8, something unusual happened. After a promising start, with Steinitz playing the Ruy Lopez as white, both players began navigating the familiar opening lines with confidence. The audience was ready for another gripping encounter. But just a few moves into the game, the clock stopped working. Zukertort's clock had simply frozen. And for the next half hour, the match was paused while the device was rushed off to a nearby jeweler for repairs. This unexpected delay shattered the rhythm of the game and added to the mounting tension. Both players were already under strain, especially Zukertort, who was reportedly fatigued, nervous, and struggling with his health throughout the St. Louis leg of the match. When play resumed, the position remained balanced, but uninspiring. Major pieces were exchanged, tension fizzled, and by move 22 there was no real advantage for either side. It was then that Zukertort offered a draw, and Steinitz agreed. Some in the audience were disappointed. They had hoped for a longer, more dramatic battle. But others quietly welcomed the result. It meant the series would continue in St. Louis, and there would still be a chance to witness more world-class chess. This marked the first draw of the entire match, and while it didn't change the overall score, it set the stage for what would come next. Now, let's see what happened in Game 9. This, the ninth game of the series and the fourth in St. Louis, was opened by Zukertort, who chose the white, and opened with Queen's Gambit, which Steinitz at once declined. This is the same opening Zukertort has chosen in all the games he has played in this series so far, and there was a little disappointment, as the local players had been expecting something better. Both players were deliberate and took things less nervously than formerly. The game was played on February 10, 1886, and on the following day, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch published the following article. The concluding game of the Steinitz-Zukertort series in St. Louis afforded an example of most brilliant chess, and also clearly demonstrated that the tournament is in no sense a hippodrome. If any doubt of the genuineness of the players' motives was engendered by the draw game of Monday, it was dispelled by the magnificent display of yesterday. Some of the local players made the invidious remark at the beginning of the contest yesterday that it would be another hippodrome. But when about the 20th move, they saw the veins on Zukertort's forehead swell out, and half an hour slip by while he was studying the move, the spectators realized that the battle was for blood. The chess club were jubilant over the fact that the local series closed with the best game of the tournament so far. Indeed, S.M. Joseph, an enthusiastic Steinitz man, said, "Yesterday's contest ought to be classed with the immortal games." The feature of yesterday's play was that neither party made a single blunder, and that Steinitz won by outplaying his opponent at all points. In an exchange of pieces, Zukertort's pawn was left isolated on the queen's fourth square, and this contributed one of his points of weakness. Steinitz played with unusual rapidity. The game was to be adjourned at 6 o'clock, but just 2 minutes before that time, Zukertort resigned. The players have 2 weeks to spend here before going to New Orleans and will probably occupy it in whist playing, their only relaxation. They were paid today $150 each, the amount raised by the Chess, Checker, and Whist Club to bring them here. This sum the club does not begrudge, as they say their organization has received a decided boom, a number of applications for membership having been made. The general opinion in the club is that Steinitz has shown himself Zukertort's superior in the St. Louis games. Even Max Judd, the doctor's champion, admits that. The total score now stands 4 games, 1 for each, and 1 draw. This leaves 1 player to win 6 games in New Orleans, as the conditions require 10 victories before either can claim the stakes. The players, on their return from the South, will probably play some blindfolded and simultaneous games with local lights. The game was erroneously recorded in both the morning papers, but the following is the corrected official score. The New York Daily Tribune also published the following article on February 11, 1886. St. Louis, February 10th. Mr. Steinitz won his 3rd successive victory in the Chess Championship Series this afternoon, and his remarkable record here has rendered him so jubilant that he expresses himself confident of winning the championship. After the game, he said, "I am feeling ever so much better now. My fit of nervousness and insomnia, which rendered me an unworthy opponent in New York, has left me now, and I feel that I am myself again. Of course, I cannot tell when this trouble will attack me again, but I do know that at present I have the strongest hope of winning. Why, in New York I was so unfit for playing that I wouldn't back myself. Indeed, Dr. Zukertort's friends will tell you that he did not outplay me in New York at all, but that my blunders were so wonderfully erratic that an insignificant player could have defeated me. These attacks of nervousness have been my bane before. In the Vienna tournament, I was 13th at the end of the first week, but pulled up and tied for first and second places. The players were punctual, and when they took their seats, the following chess experts were among the spectators: Guidor Judd, Simmons, Adolph Judd, Martin of Toledo, Judge Warner, Max Judd, E. Helke of Leadville, and Colonel George Rowley. This gathering was gradually increased as the game proceeded. Dr. C. D. N. Campbell acted as umpire for Steinitz and Guidor Judd for Zukertort. Dr. Zukertort chose the white and offered the Queen's Gambit, which Steinitz declined. There was some disappointment at this opening, as the local players expected something new. The game, however, proved to be the best of the series. Zukertort looked tired and worn. He played slowly at first and with none of his usual buoyancy. Both men settled down to steady work. After Steinitz's 38th move, Zukertort waved his hand deprecatingly and said, "It's your game." In a few minutes he returned to the board and began explaining to some of his friends how he had lost. "I was all right up to the 29th move," he said. "I made my mistake in the 30th move. Instead of playing rook to knight's third, I should have played pawn to queen's fifth." "It would make no difference," said Mr. Steinitz. "Sit down and I'll show you. I thought you would make that move and had it analyzed." Both played the game again, but drew, each believing that he was right. "When I got my bishop safely at bishop's third, the game was won," said Mr. Steinitz. "I think this one of the best we have played," he continued, "and I shall treat it at some length in my magazine." "I don't know what is the matter with me," said Dr. Zukertort. "Since I came to St. Louis, I have been pursued with bad luck, and today I felt all out of sorts. I haven't the admiration for the afternoon's game that my friend Steinitz has." The Washington Evening Star, published on February 17, 1886, added this final colorful moment. At supper, after the 9th game between Steinitz and Zukertort was over, both Steinitz and Zukertort gave a most entertaining and unconscious exhibition of chess, without the chessboard. Zukertort was attending to the wing of a duck, but his defeat was evidently still rankling in his mind. "Steinitz," he said, "what would you have done if I had played rook takes bishop's pawn?" "Pawn takes rook," replied Steinitz, digging out a bonne bouche from the duck's breast. "Queen to knight sixth, check," said Zukertort, reaching for his glass of beer. "King to bishop square, please pass the bread," replied Steinitz. "Queen takes pawn rooks sixth, check. No thanks, no sugar. King to bishop second. What is in that dish? Potatoes?" And so it went on, both gentlemen carrying on the business of the table, and each with a vivid chessboard pictured mentally before him. They played this variation out to the end of it, and then took up another, and another, evidently able to call up a photograph of the game at any stage at will. "How do you do it, Doctor?" queried the Republican reporter. "I can't explain it," he said. "I see the board and the pieces just as clearly as though they were before me." "Doesn't that require a tremendous exertion of the memory?" "No. Of course everybody cannot do it, but it is not hard to do if you go at it right." "Isn't the effort exhausting?" "Not at all. I would much sooner play 10 games blindfolded simultaneously than one match game." "How many games can you play blindfolded simultaneously?" "I have played 16. There is no mental limit, however, to the amount of that sort of thing that one can do. Of course, some do not push it as far as others." I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, then please subscribe and hit the like button. This will encourage me to prepare the rest of the games. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next game.